Welcome to the studio at That Nerd Show. I'm Marcus Blake, and this is your daily nerd news for Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. Our top stories of the day take us to the world of film. Paramount has found a writer for their new biopic about Sammy Davis Jr. That's right, there's going to be a movie about Sammy Davis Jr. Charles Murray will be penning the script and talking about how Sammy Davis Jr. had this constant need to prove himself and become an Albatross. But a little bit more about this story. Paramount Pictures is moving forward with the movie of Sammy Davis Jr. and has, of course, set Charles Murray to write the script. The film is produced by Lorenzo di Bonaventura, fellow musical icon Lionel Richie, latter of whom was instrumental in gathering rights from Sammy Davis Jr.'s estate, and, of course, Michael Mekai. The movie is based on several resources, among the singer's 1965 memoir, Yes I Can, the story of Sammy Davis Jr., which Davis wrote with Jane and Bert Boyar. Mekai said that after they set the project to Paramount under de Bonaventura's deal, they searched long and hard for the right writer and eventually found themselves on Murray's doorstep. Physically, Charles Murray is the polar opposite of the rari and diminutive film subject, nor would you confuse him with Arthur for that matter. His credits as a writer-producer include the musical dramas Sons of Anarchy and Luke Cage, and he looks like he could also be a character in each of them. But Michael was surprised to find that the writer had read pretty much everything written about Sammy Davis Jr. and came in with an encyclopedic knowledge of the iconic entertainer's life and pretty much all of his dance moves. He was quoted as saying, "If you saw me, I'm 6'4" and 290 pounds, maybe 300. If I'm being really honest," Murray told reporters, "it might surprise you that I grew up loving musicals and gravitated to Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Elvis, and James Cagney. And this little black dude I would see on TV who held his own alongside Frank Sinatra. Growing up in Gary, Indiana, next door to the high school attended by Michael Jackson and his siblings, Murray would run home each day to watch the 3:30 afternoon movie on ABC. There was a steady diet of classic films populated mostly by white cast, but there was also one exceptional actor that a young fan of musicals could latch on to," referring to Sammy Davis Jr. He was also quoted as saying, "I would see movies like Ocean's 11 and Sammy just stood out. Singing with Frank, dancing like Fred and Gene, and none of those cats looked at him any different in those movies because he was black. I think I made the proclamation to my parents around 8 that I wanted to make movies when I grew up. They're from the South and knew all about the what racial tension was, and they said, good luck. There weren't a lot of actors on TV who liked me, or who looked like me, but I would watch Bill Cosby's shows as the gym teacher Chet Kincaid, and sometimes we would see Diana Carroll and Julia. But all of those people, Sammy Davis Jr. just stood out." So there you have it, folks. Paramount Pictures is going to be doing a biopic about Sammy Davis Jr., which there hasn't really been a whole lot about him. We've done plenty of movies about the Rat Pack, which included him. Of course, there's numerous movies about Frank Sinatra, but not really a biopic about Sammy Davis Jr., this little short African-American Jewish entertainer. So it will be very interesting to see what comes out of this movie. But no word yet on casting, when this will be released. They just found a writer to pen the script, and we will keep you up to date as we know more about this picture. In other movie news, Lily Tomlin will be producing a feature film called Radium Girls, and it will be starring Joey King and Abby Quinn. And this was acquired by Juno Films. Anyway, Radium Girls has been snapped up by Juno Films, which is taking all North American rights in English-speaking territories. The film, which has made its world premiere at the 2018 Tribeca Film Festival, will open on April 3rd at the Quad Cinema in New York, followed by a national rollout. Starring Emmy and Golden Globe nominee Joey King and Little Women's Abby Quinn, Radium Girl follows teen sisters who dream of Hollywood and Egyptian pyramids as they paint luminous watch dials at the American Radium Factory in New Jersey. When Joe loses a tooth, Bessie's world is turned upside down as a mystery slowly unravels. She discovers a corporate cover-up In a radical coming-of-age story, Bessie and the Radium Girls decide to take on American Radium. The national sensation following the case of the Radium Girls ultimately led to a significant and lasting impact in the area of the workplace for health and safety and the study of radioactivity. So kind of a biopic piece about what happened and how all that came about. In addition, Radium Girls marks the feature directorial debut of Emmy-winning and Oscar-nominated producer Lydia Dean Pilcher and filmmaker Jenny Moeller, who co-wrote the feature with Brittany Shaw. Pilcher produced the film along with Emily McAvoy. At its heart, the Radium Girls story is an inspiration for people everywhere to question the facts that we take for granted. It's just as relevant today as it was in the 1920s, said Pilcher and Moeller. Grace and Frankie's Lily Tomlin, Jane Wagner, Harriet Newman, Leave, Jane Barron, Sherman, and Will Clauser are the executive producers. And of course, the movie has won the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation Feature Film Award. Radium Girls is a Sin Mosaic production in association with Double Play Connections, Schaefer Sisters, Pro Productions, and Creative Instinct. Radium Girls is a powerful retelling of a dark chapter in American history that illuminates what it takes for the powerless to stand up to power, says Elizabeth Sheldon of Juno Films, and they are proud to add this film to their roster of films by and about women. So look forward to seeing that a little bit later this year as the rights have been snatched up and we get a wider release. So it seems like an interesting pick, and we will definitely check it out and let you know what we think. All right. Pardon the interruption while you watch this fantastic video by That Nerd Show. But we wanted to remind you that when you're done, go to mynerdswag.com and check out all the cool swag that we sell to help support this great news outlet. Yeah, if you like funny gaming or pop culture retro t-shirts, we have them. If you want a fantastic nerd bracelet to show your love as a nerd, we have that. We are also the home of the Baby Yoda t-shirt. That's right, we got a Baby Yoda t-shirt that you can buy and help support That Nerd Show. So when you're done, go to mynerdswag.com, check it out, help support the show, and keep the lights on. Every purchase helps. In other movie news, Oscar winner Melissa Leo and Joker and Atlanta actress Zazie Beetz have been set to star in a drama film called Shelter. Jen Gerber is directing from the script by David Rysdale, who is also the cast as the troubled father who reconnects with his estranged daughter after they find themselves homeless in the middle of a winter storm. Desperate for shelter, the duo returns to his mother's, played by Melissa Leo's, home in rural Minnesota, where they fake an illness in hopes of quickly getting back on their feet. Ala Finley from Man with a Plan stars as the daughter. Producers are Jason Michael Vernon of Mandalay Pictures and Mark Berger of Play Hooky Productions, along with Bradley Peltz and Datari Turner. Executive producers are Sam Rockwell, Beetz, and Will Rayner. The movie will shoot in New Ulm, Minnesota later this year. But the director Gerber had this to say: "At a time when the country is so politically divided, I'm thrilled to be working with such an incredible cast and crew to deliver a timely story about forgiveness and hope." Shelter is a screenplay that has deep emotion and universal themes, and it takes us to the part of the country that is not shown very often in film. Producers Berman and Berger added, "When we read the script, we knew it was a special project that we had to be involved with." So that is the latest project for Melissa Leo and Zazie Beetz. Again, we will definitely check that out once we get a chance to see it. Sounds very interesting. And for you, those up in the Minnesota area, New Ulm, you might be able to get signed on as extras for the film. All right, now we turn our attention to TV news. We've only got one TV item today. So for fans of Power, are you already missing the show? Well, guess what? There's a prequel in the works, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that. Mekai Curtis will play the young Kanan Stark in the Power prequel called Raising Kanan, on Starz. Rob Hardy will direct. Mekai Curtis is set to star as the younger Kanan Stark alongside Patina Miller in Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. This is a Starz Lionsgate upcoming project, Power Prequel series. And additionally, Rob Hardy is set to direct. He also directed the pilot for All American and Power. This is a smart-driven and still naive Kanan's world revolves around his mother, Rock, who raised him by herself. She is his everything. At the same time, he is beginning to get a sense of not only the world around him, but his place in that world. Kanan wants to be just like his mother, and that's the problem. He's young and wide-eyed and doesn't know how the hustle works, and even more important, his mother's not nearly as keen as he is for him to follow in her footsteps. There's a complicated relationship that only gets more problematic as time goes on. This is the third chapter of the Courtney A. Kemp created Power franchise. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, is a prequel that takes viewers back to the 90s and the early years of the now deceased iconic Power character Kanan Stark, portrayed in the original series by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. A little bit of a spoiler there if you've never watched the series, but if you love that character, he starts out in prison at the beginning of the series, but now you'll get to go back and see how he got into the game. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, is executive produced by Kemp throughout the company, the end of the episode, and Jackson through his G-Unit film and television. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson is also known for his roles as Fish Fisher in Disney's XD's Kirby's Pockets, as Paul Dumphney and Alexander in The Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. He also most recently voiced the role of Zach in Milo Murphy's Law. But on top of also film roles, he's also a rapper called 50 Cent, if you haven't heard of him. So look for that in the next year or so, as there's there's more than one prequel surrounding this iconic series from Starz, Power, which just ended last month after 6 seasons. All right, that's what's going on in the world of TV and film news. So on to gaming. We've got two items for you in regards to gaming news. Not much is going on, considering we just got a huge announcement about the Xbox Series X. But we're going to start off with some more news from Xbox. Here's what's coming to Xbox Gold in March. The Xbox games with Gold March for the March 2020 lineup will bring you 4 fresh games, and it's another solid lineup, all across all kinds of genres. This month will be especially rewarding for players who have been keeping up with their Xbox games with Gold from months past, as both Batman, The Enemy Within, and Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 follow up on relatively recent selections. Meanwhile, Shantae, Half-Genie Hero is a treat for everyone who can enjoy retro-inspired side-scrolling action, and so is Sonic Generations, or at least the classic Sonic half of it is. If you remember those games. But here's a little bit more about the games that you'll be able to get into. Batman, The Enemy Within, the complete season, available March 1st through the 31st. It's a Telltale Batman series, and it continues with its second season, The Enemy Within, and if you claimed your free copy of the first season back in December, you should be all ready to catch up with Bruce Wayne. You can play The Enemy Within as its own standalone experience, though you'll miss out on the ways your decisions impacted you in the first season and can influence the state of Gotham and its heroes and villains in the second season. So just keep that in mind. The other game that's coming is Shantae, Half-Genie Hero, which will be available March 16th to April 15th. The Shantae series gets back to its belly dancing, shape-shifting roots in this refresh of the long-running series that started back on Game Boy Color. That's right, it has been around for about 25 years. While Half-Genie Hero is a tribute to the side-scrolling action platforms, it's a polished, modern art style and subtle use of branching levels makes it feel timeless. Plus, you can use the power of dance to turn yourself into a fish or a monkey. How many games have you played Can you say that you've been able to do that? So there you have it. Fans of the Telltale series for Batman, Season 2 is on its way. And if you're a fan of Shantae, Half-Genie Hero, well, you're going to get to play this game that's coming to Gold. As soon as we know about PlayStation and what their free games are going to be next month, we will let you know. But here you go. And don't forget that for $14.99, you not only get to combine your Game Pass, your Ultimate Game Pass, but Xbox Gold all in one $15 a month payment. It's the best value in gaming, and you get to take advantage of some of these great games that you may not have, had a chance to play. For our last bit of gaming news, we go to the world of Tom Clancy video games. There was some news that broke today about Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which, if you remember, came out last fall. Now, we didn't really review this game. It was one of those that slipped by us, but some of us have played it, and it's still one of those games on our list for multiplayer. So we'll have more stuff about this game for you from That Nerd Show. But the news that came out of Ubisoft today. Ubisoft says it will change the way you play Breakpoint. Ghost Recon Breakpoint immersive mode is still on the way, but it's going to take a little bit longer than Ubisoft thought. One of the biggest sore spots when Ghost Recon Breakpoint first came out last year was that it didn't do enough with the survival aspects that were meant to set it apart from Ghost Recon Wildlands. Not to mention The Division 2, the other loot-infused military-themed third-person open-world shooter from Ubisoft. A developmental roadmap shared in January said that a new immersive experience would push these elements to the foreground, and that it would arrive by the end of February. Well, that's not happening. Here is a quote from them. We are in the process of creating an experience that will change the way you're able to play Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The complexity of integrating this new mode was proven to be a challenge, and we want to ensure that the experience will be a great one when it releases. The immersive mode will still release this spring. We'll share more firm timing as soon as we're able to. So we don't really have a deadline for when this is going to happen. They're just saying sometime this spring. So it's fairly reasonable that we might get it in the next couple of months. Also, as they went on to say that a new engineer class and possibly Breakpoint Episode 2 are planned to arrive in the same title update this spring. The last day of spring will technically be Saturday, June 20th. So that does give the developers just under 4 months without needing another delay, in case you're counting. Beyond the name and the emphasis on survival, we don't know much about Ghost Recon Breakpoint's immersive mode. Back when Ubisoft published the results of the community server, it implied that the more immersive and radical version of Breakpoint would remove great score and tiered loot from the game, or at least significantly alter the way it looks. I can understand how finding an M4, carabine that is 10 points nicer than your M4 carabine could interfere with the whole grounded military experience thing. Just saying. And I'm not the only one that has pointed that out as an example. So there's more coming to this game. For those of you that have played it and felt like that it was kind of an incomplete game or not as big as Ghost Recon Wildlands, here you go, and this is one of the reasons why. It's also one of the reasons why that you can get the game fairly cheap now. You can actually buy it brand new for just $20 at most stores. So we definitely can't wait to check this out because it's on our list of games with for multiplayer. As we keep discussing everything, with the best games for multiplayer. So we'll let you know more about that as we get a chance to play it later this year. And now for our question of the day. Since we got a little bit of news about a Tom Clancy video game, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I thought it'd be fun to actually discuss Tom Clancy video games. It's been on our radar for a while now, ever since we started playing the Division games, especially this past year since we got back into the Division games. But for those that like first-person shooters, there's always an interesting comparison between Tom Clancy video games and Call of Duty video games. So here's your question. What is the best Tom Clancy video game out there? Out of everything that they've come out with over the years, what do you consider is your favorite Tom Clancy video game? What is the best? They've had some pretty solid titles over the years. The Rainbow Six game, the original one, was pretty incredible. We freely admit that we are loving the Division 2, especially with all their patches and things that they've done to improve the game. And we are, exploring more and more about Division 1. We like Division 2 better than the first Division game, but we're still playing Division 1 on Xbox. And there's no denying that Ghost Recon Wildlands and its big, huge open world game was incredible. And it's worth going back to, especially if you're putting together a new gaming team. But, we've had games like Rainbow Siege 6 where you take on different realistic missions, whether you're SWAT or you're Special Forces. But the one thing that Tom Clancy games have always had over any other first-person shooter is it relies solely on more realistic strategy. We've discussed this time and time again that you really do have to rely on cover and learning how to sneak around cover in the Division games. And, Rainbow Six was another great example of that. You can't just turn it down to easy and expect to take lots of damage in a Call of Duty game to get through a mission. You have to really work at it and plan how you're going to do stuff. And when you're running with a team, you have to talk about what you're going to do. The other day, we released an episode on our new multiplayer series on our Twitch channel, and we did an incredibly hard mission that we didn't even win to begin with in the Division 1. But one of the things that we talked about is we had to keep changing our strategy at the beginning part of the game. When they had wave after wave of bad guy, until we finally settled on, well, there's stairs. Let's get to the top of the stairs, draw them in, bottleneck them in a small space, and just 3 people just constantly shoot until we get them all down. We treated it like our own modern day version of the Battle of 300. My point is, there's a lot of differences with Tom Clancy first-person shooter games when it comes to strategy that makes these games interesting. Some of the games are hit or miss. Some of them, as our squad leader, K. Scott Cooper says, it feels like you're doing chores. It's not as fun if you're having to really work in it because they're trying to challenge you so much. But some are just a lot of fun to sweep through, kill, get fancy weapons like drone guns and cluster bombs. But the Tom Clancy video games have always offered a very interesting first-person shooter experience, vastly different than Activision and Call of Duty. And we're not taking away from Call of Duty. We are fans of that franchise. We love those games. But a lot of those video games are just, you can easily run through missions and they're not that challenging. You can take on a lot of damage versus Tom Clancy, where you have to take on minimal damage and really, really work at it with your strategy. So if you're a huge strategy first-person shooter gamer, these are perfect for you. But out of all the games that they have come up with since the very beginning, all the way up to the latest game, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and the 2 Division games, Wildlands and Rainbow Siege 6 and stuff, what is the best Tom Clancy video game? Is it a modern one or is it a classic one? We would love to hear from you. Tell us what your favorite Tom Clancy game is. What do you think is the best? You can tweet us out at That Nerd Show on our Twitter channel, at That Nerd Show. Tell us your answers. Let's get a good discussion going about Tom Clancy video games. If nothing else, let's talk about the things that we like and we don't like about these video games that help improve them with the developers. So, what is the best Tom Clancy video game? Let us know your answer. I'm Marcus Blake with That Nerd Show, and this has been your daily nerd news for Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. Until the next time, goodbye. Hello there, fellow nerds. I'm Marcus Blake, the editor and producer of That Nerd Show, and we need your help. That's right, we need your support. Like any news outlet, we rely on advertising and donations to keep the lights on. To be the greatest show in this universe, we need funding, and that's where you come in. Like most artists out there, we actually have a Patreon account, and we're asking for donations. But we're not just asking for you to give us money. We actually have stuff that we're going to be giving away if you donate. So we'll be uploading more and more videos to our Patreon account from YouTube, from our daily news to interviews with celebrities to gaming videos and all of our other individual shows that we are doing here in 2020. But to keep us going, we need a little bit of funding. And again, that's where you come in. So it can be as little as $1. $1 makes all the difference in the world. And you can do anywhere from $1 to $3 to $5, all the way up to $500. And we're going to be giving stuff away for your donations. So you could get some Nerd Power wristbands or any other wristbands from our series of wristbands that we're creating for nerds. You can get cool retro gaming t-shirts from our Nerd Swag shop if you make a donation of $20 or more. You can even get advertising on our website or within our videos if you make a purchase or donate $50 or more dollars. We have different tiers, like most artists. Want that new video game that's coming out this year? You want to be playing the same video game we are as we're reviewing it? Hey, you can do that with a $100 donation. Are you looking to get a new console before the year is out? Hey, $500 and you can get an Xbox One, a PlayStation 4, or even a Nintendo Switch. It just takes a little bit to help us. As little as $1 per video that we do. And we're going to have a variety of videos that you can help support. So if you like our content, if you like everything that we do as nerds, from honest conversations about pop culture to great celebrity interviews to wacky and fun gaming videos, then help support us on our Patreon account. You can check us out at patreon.com/thatnerdshow. You can check us out at patreon.com/that. Take 3. Go to patreon.com/thatnerdshow and make your donation today. Even if it's just $1. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you and stay nerdy.